Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to Fit and Bendy Q&A for this week, coming to you from my cozy little place in New Orleans. Next week will be my last week here in New Orleans, and then I'll be back in Los Angeles. So the schedule's probably going to keep changing around, and we'll do our best to accommodate holidays and everything. Hope everybody's doing well. We've got some good questions for today. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. All right. For Jewel had quite a few questions. They're all very good ones. Jewel's saying that after she stretches her back, she feels fine, and the next day she's fine, and then 2 days after it just locks up and it's really, really, really stiff. And it's used to be just the lower back, but now it's the entire back. So there could be a few different things going on here. It's a little bit hard for me to say for sure what's happening, but my guess is that something you're probably collapsing into the back a little bit too much, or maybe pushing a little bit too far. I'm also not sure how often you're stretching your back, and one thing that I have noticed with back bending and training your back to be comfortable in back bends is that if you go a little bit one day, then you take a couple days off, and then you go a lot, and then maybe you take a few days off, or you go right back into it, and you're kind of inconsistent, not just in how often you're training, but also how far you go every time you train and the way that you train. That can sometimes make your back really freak out. The back likes very consistent, even training. So the same thing all the time, every time, and just going a little bit at a time, rather than like one day you're trying to sit on your head and the next day you just do a little bit. So that's just one idea to try, is to put together a back bending routine for yourself, and one that feels doable. It's challenging, should be challenging, but not like super hardcore. And just do that exact routine with no variation. 3 times a week if you're just starting out. If you've been doing it consistently for a while, you could do 4 or 5, but very consistently. My coach always used to say it's better to do it even at the same time each day. I know that's hard with all of us in our crazy lives, but just to be as consistent as you possibly can with the training, and see if that helps. And then after doing it for a week or 2, if it starts to feel easier and it's doing well, then you make the routine a little bit more difficult. But again, you change it, and then you keep it the same for a while, and see if that makes your back happier. Hopefully it will. All right. I will have a printer again, and then I'll be able to print these out, so I won't be looking at my computer at the same time. Chest stands. Okay, so she had some questions about positioning of the legs and chest stands. And when I put this broadcast up on YouTube, I am going to challenge my technological abilities and see if I can show the photos themselves so that you guys can understand better what I'm talking about in chest stand. So she had one where she's in her chest stand. Her chest stand looks very nice. And she had one where her legs were together and up, and one where she was trying to bring the legs further down towards the floor. And she's asking which one is better. And the answer is they're both good positions. And in fact, what I really recommend is, if you're starting to get into chest stands and you're starting to work in that position, do a lot of different positions. I mean, not a lot, you start slow and build up, obviously, but try to find some movement. Try to change your position around, because different positions with the legs will give you different kinds of stretches in your back. So the legs together and up is good. Bringing them apart and bringing them down, so they're coming down in front of you, like here's your head and here are your legs coming down. Bending the knees, doing some movements like this where you're trying to touch one toe and then the other to the floor, kind of coming in and out of the chest stand. What I really advocate trying to find some movement in that position for a number of reasons. It will help you feel where your back is strong, where it's weak, where you need to work on it more, and it will help you feel comfortable. It's never really that comfortable. It'll help you feel more comfortable in that position when you feel that you have that control and that ability to move your body. And sometimes it can even help to relax and get the breathing a little bit better, because breathing is always one of those things that people struggle with in chest stand. I will say that I noticed, Jewel, that you have your arms straight out with the palms down on the floor, which I know is a good position to start with when you're just starting out with chest stand. It can feel a little bit safer, but I would advocate also trying the hands next to the chest position, because that's going to help you get your upper back in a little bit better position. It'll help you get your butt a little bit further forward generally. It can feel a little strange when you're starting that transition. So, just go easy on it and see if you have a friend to spot you while you're moving your hands. That can be nice. You don't fall over. But that might help you get your butt a little bit more over your head. And continuing on. Oh, Jewel is working on the Cobra with no hands. So that's when you lift your body up and reach over backwards when you're lying on your belly. So you go from lying face down and just lift up and go over back towards your feet. I feel like I have a strong back, but I can't do that at all. Where does the lift come from? So here's an interesting thing about that movement. It is a back bending movement, but it's really a lot of hip flexibility. Because you think about it, okay, here's my body lying face down on the floor. And if all of the bend is happening in my back up here, then I'm going to be able to get my upper body up off the floor, but my hip bones are going to stay down. And I'm going to kind of have the upper body up and be reaching back, but I'm not going to get that full lift back that I'm sure is what you were looking for. In order to get that full lift back, you have to bend further down the body, which means the hips. Now, a lot of us, myself included, who have very bendy backs, struggle with the flexibility in hips, which makes that particular movement a lot more difficult. So you feel like you're really cranking with your back muscles are working hard and you're not going up, and it's because the point at which you're bending is too high up on your body. And this can be even more difficult if you're built like I am with a long torso and short legs. That means that where in your body the bend is happening is even further up and further away from the center. So that means you really, really, really have to use your hips. So the bend, the lift, the muscles are in the back, but it's also the downstairs butt and the hamstrings to work on opening up the front of the hip so that when you lift up, the lift happens lower. I hope that makes sense. So what I would recommend to work on that is stretch your hips like crazy. And you can also start working where you have a wall and you're pushing away from the wall, work on lowering the place that your back is bending into the hips so that you're lifting further. More of your body is up off the floor. You're trying to get the belly button off the floor, push the pubic bone down, get the hip bones up. And then you gradually start to make your hands lighter on the wall. And that will help you kind of feel where the muscle is and where the bend needs to happen to make that work for you. Last question for Jewel, shoulder rotation and bridges. Okay, so in last week's broadcast, I talked about rotating your shoulders in bridge and how that will help the shoulder open up, and apparently did help Jewel. Yay, glad that was helpful to alleviate some of the shoulder pain. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and watch last week's broadcast. But she is asking about how that applies to needle scale. And that's a really good question because I know that a big problem that a lot of people have with needle scale is the shoulders. And the truth is that, we all think of these as back bending moves. This is the same with the last one. It's a back bending move, but really the trick is in the hips. Needle scale, a lot of the early work is actually not the back, it's the shoulders. Because in order to get that arm fully extended, you really have to be open through the front here. And I know a lot of people are practicing the needle scale by reaching back and grabbing the foot here and then rotating the arm over and then trying to straighten it. And the problem with that is that if your foot isn't already up close to your head, I've covered this before, I'm happy to cover it again because it's a really important point. If you're grabbing your foot back here with your palm facing out and then trying to rotate over, that rotation can be very hard on your shoulder. It can make your shoulder super cranky because as we talked about last week, when the shoulder's in an internally rotated position and it's extended, that's when you start to get those sort of pinchy, cranky, sharp pains in the shoulder. It feels like something's not in the right place, and it's not. So what I recommend working on needle scale, there are a number of different ways you can work on. I don't know where exactly your needle scale is, but when you're first starting, what I recommend is just working with a strap. And you can even work, you can see the way I'm sitting, work on the floor. Front leg can be in a pigeon position. Grab that leg, get a strap, and work on pulling.
And this rotation, do this with the strap really long when you're rotating the shoulder, so you're not cranking the shoulder extended and rotating. Rotate it all the way over here, and then just work on straightening the arms, and you can choke up on the strap as much as you need to get a good stretch. And once you start to feel that and feel a little bit more stable in that, you can move that to a standing position. But it's a little easier to feel on the floor, where if you fall over, you don't have as far to fall. Once you get better at that, you can start doing it where you're going to bring that leg in, grab with the opposite hand, too far away from the camera, bring the leg in, grab with the opposite hand, turn it over, turn the arm over without any pressure on the arm, and grab from there. But you'll notice that as soon as and I'm not warmed up in the least bit here, but as soon as I start to put pressure on that shoulder, I'm trying to rotate the armpit forward here. So I'm not allowing this. If the elbow's out to the side, that means that the armpit is rotated in the wrong direction. You've got an internal rotation of the armpit, which pushes the elbow out to the side, and that starts to put cranky, angry pressure on the shoulder. So really work on that rotation. Use a strap on the foot to connect the foot and the hand for as long as you need to until the shoulders open up so that you can have that position without the shoulder being in the wrong rotation. And that will really save your shoulders in the long term and start to open them up and get them in the right position. And eventually, what will happen is you'll be able to get both hands back with the shoulders rotated and the armpits facing forward. And then you can work on straightening the arms. And then once the arms are straight, all you have to do is straighten your leg, and then bam, needle scale. No problem, right? Super easy. All right, moving along for Autumn. Hello, Autumn. You're doing so beautifully with your oversplits. They look really good. You want to know when to start oversplitting with your back leg as well. You know, you could start that now, I think. Put one block under the front leg, one block under the back leg. So a couple of things to think about for oversplitting with both legs on blocks, or even just the back leg. You can also do just the back leg, which is a really good hip opener. That's putting the back leg high will really work on that hip and the back leg. The closer the block is to your foot, the more challenging it is to hold the position because your knee's gonna wanna bend. If you move the block in closer to your knee, you should never put it on your knee, ever, ever, ever. Don't put the block on the knee. So you would put it right on the shin here, or you could put it up on your foot. So the block would be right on the top of your foot. And if the block is on the top of your foot, then you're gonna definitely feel how much work it is to straighten your leg, your back leg. Your back leg's gonna wanna bend. Very important to work on straightening it. That's where the really good work is in a back leg high oversplit. Your body's gonna wanna lean forward. You wanna really work on that tuck in the pelvis, lifting out of the back hip and stretching the back hip. In fact, I'm gonna advocate that you try it with just the back leg high for a while before adding both legs high, so that you can start to feel that work. A lot of times, I'm sorry, I have a little bit of a sniffle, so I might sneeze, or I might not. I hate it when you lose them, you know? Back leg high. A lot of times when we think about straightening the leg, we think about straightening the leg from the quads. You're squeezing the quad. In the back leg high stretch, you've got that back leg out behind you. Really think about squeezing from here to straighten the leg so that this opens up. See if you can feel that. It's that downstairs butt again, that your friendly neighborhood downstairs butt. And if you can feel that engagement and that lengthening through the front of the hip, that's really the gift of the back leg high. So do that for a week, and then you can try one on one front, one on the back, and it's a fun, intense stretch for sure. Any tips on how to get better at standing poses like standing splits, scorpions, etc.? Decent back flexibility, but I can't for the life of me grab my foot with both hands behind my back. So yeah, I mean, this is what we're just covering about the rotation. That is a hard movement. It is challenging. That is a pretty advanced movement. I see a lot of people on the splits network working on their scorpions, and that's great. Go ahead and work on it, but don't be too hard on yourself if you can't quite get it yet. It's a movement that usually is trained once you've really got like some solid deep over splits and opened up the shoulders a lot, and you're training your back a lot, because it uses shoulders, it uses back, it uses hips, it involves balance, it involves a lot of control,
it's not an easy movement. So don't beat yourself up, please. Just go nice and slow. Follow the formula that I was talking about earlier. And just another thing that in general, if you're having difficulty with standing poses, standing on one leg, just practice standing on one leg without doing anything super fancy. Try holding your splits for time. So get yourself in a good position. Make sure you're not arching your back too much when you're doing like a side split or a front split. And find yourself in a nice stable position. Make sure your standing leg is completely engaged. You want the knee engaged. You don't want any bend or wobble in the standing leg. And just try to hold it for 30 seconds. Try to hold it for a minute. At first, it might be 10 seconds. Then you're like, okay, well, I can hold it for 10 seconds. So do 3, 4, 5 times. Hold it for 10 seconds. Next day, say maybe I can make it to 12. Gradually increase the amount of time that you're doing it. These are things that, you just have to work on consistently every day, and your balance, your control will get better. But focus on the standing leg. Focus on your standing leg. If that standing leg is engaged, the knee is engaged, the downstairs button is engaged, you're lifting out of the hip, you've got a nice strong base, then all you have to do is build that endurance to be able to hold that position. Hopefully that helps. Very nice pictures, Autumn. Looking really good. Yeah, you're saying I can do the one hand thing all right, but when I try to reach back with both hands, I can't reach. Feel like I should be able to. Schmood. It's just give it some time. And make sure that your back is warmed up, your shoulders are warmed up, your whole body should be warmed up before attempting any kind of needle scale. You can also practice it, the way I said, sitting down with the front leg bent or the front leg extended. You could practice it in your splits, but it's going to be tough for a little while. Stretch those shoulders a lot. All right, Kelly Omer. I've been feeling a pulling pain behind my left knee whenever I stretch my left hamstring. When I stretch, it's hard for me to feel anything other than tightness behind my knee. So it sounds like it might be a little bit of an injury. Pains progress slowly, and hormone continues to get worse. Icing it every day, keep stretching. Might be better to lay off stretching. Yeah, it's hard to say. It sounds like there might be something cranky going on there, some kind of injury. I am really hesitant to ever kind of diagnose that in this format, because there are so many things that could be going on, and without working with you more, I'm really hesitant. I'm also not a doctor. So I would say maybe lay off of it for a little bit. If it's continually getting cranky, then it's sending you a message. If something is continually being cranky and going, then that's a part of your body sending you a message that something is not right. You may want to consider going to see someone, physical therapist, if you have a good doctor, although a lot of times the doctors just, unless it's some kind of like actual damage, if it's just a little cranky problem, a lot of times they'll just give you some anti-inflammatories and send you back home. So I generally recommend a physical therapist or a really good Pilates instructor to work with stuff like that. But in the long term, once the acute problem has gone away and it's less cute, sorry, and it's less bothersome and you're ready to go back to working on it, I would say focus a lot on active flexibility in that leg. So just working on lifting the leg, no strap, no pulling. You can maybe support it from the back of the thigh. So you're gonna lie down. Imagine I'm lying down. I'll be back to my better camera setup soon. Imagine you're lying down, you've got your leg on your back. Just put your hands on the back of the thigh. Don't pull it in until it's a brutal stretch. You just want to pull it in until you feel a slight stretch, and then squeeze that muscle in your knee and try to straighten that leg. And what you're trying to do is feel that muscle engage as much as you can, and then bend it and relax. And just keep on doing that, because the stronger this muscle gets, the more that's going to help to support and open up the back of your knee. And I am about to run out of batteries on my computer. Let's hope it lasts the rest of the time. All right, moving along. Oh, Sabine chiming in about the knee. Yes, I agree. I agree with you. Definitely recommend to see someone. Exercise I can do to loosen and increase flexibility in my back, especially lower back. This is for Lindley McKay. Yes, Lindley, there is. If you are someone who has a lot of stiffness in their lower back, trying to do, and I'm assuming we're talking about back bending, although I'm not sure. Part of the problem is that when we think about stretching the back, it's always back bending. But that's actually compressing the back, not stretching it. Stretching it means going forward. So what I would recommend is working on a lot of forward flexion. So bending forward, also lateral rotation. So going straight over to the side, do a lot of side bending and do a lot of twisting. And what that's going to start to do is take all of those muscles around the lower back that tend to clench up and get really tight and cranky and start to loosen them. So you can imagine it if you have like a big knot of fabric. It's all knotted up like this, and you can't untie it at all. And back bending would just be pressing on that knot and getting it tighter and tighter. What you want instead to do is kind of start to work it. You work it this way, you work it this way, until that starts to loosen up a little bit. And once that loosens up, then you can start to go back into your back bending. But if you have a super tight lower back, side bending, twisting, and forward bending will give you a much better result than back bending at first. Then you can move on to back bending. Other recommendations are to strengthen your lower ab muscles. The lower abs tend to, the lower abs are the muscles that support your lower back. That's where a lot of support for your lower back comes from. If you have weak lower abdominal muscles, then the lower back can get very tight because it isn't supported enough from the core. So doing a really good lower ab workout, and I'm actually about to post one of those, hopefully today or tomorrow, a good lower ab workout will make a difference for your back for sure. And then the last recommendation is to stretch your hips as well. Do lots of lunges, because when the hip flexors are really tight, what that does, the hip flexors tighten up, and that's going to make your butt stick out, and that's going to tighten up the lower back as well. So the more that you can open up this, get this line nice and long, bring the pubic bone up and forward, then you see my back also gets longer. So I'm thinking of pushing my upper butt cheek down and lifting my lower abs up to get more length through the lower back. Highly recommend Pilates for this if you have a good Pilates. I recommend Pilates for a lot of things, but that's one of the really wonderful gifts that Pilates gave me, is the ability to start to feel that length through the lower back. And if you want to go from there into back bending, you'll have a nice, solid, stable core from which to work, so that the back, it doesn't cramp up and freak out and feel tight. All right. Next question, Belinda. I've been stretching for 2.5 years and I've had 2 hamstring injuries. Bummer. Those are not fun. I'm always sore high in the hamstring or attaches to the lower glute, and on the outside of the glute and the other leg, I always feel tight. Some days I'm oversplitting 2 blocks, and other days I'm lucky to get flat and split. My middle splits are not affected. Are there certain stretch I should or shouldn't be doing to address this? Sounds to me like you could really benefit from some active flexibility training. Sometimes what happens is that if you've been stretching a certain muscle, but that muscle isn't very strong, that's when you end up with a lot of these problems of chronic injuries. And the hamstrings are a very common place for that to happen, especially that attachment point right up where the hamstring attaches underneath your butt. So what I would recommend are doing exercises to strengthen your hamstrings and focusing on doing active flexibility for the hamstrings instead of passive flexibility. So that means not so much splits, maybe a little bit of splits, but not so much splits, and definitely not trying to do splits when it's acting up. Instead, do the same exercise I was recommended earlier, lying on your back. Let's see. So, and there's a whole routine of this on Bendy Body, just in case anyone's interested. So, lying on your back, you extend the leg, lock the knee out completely straight, bend the leg, extend and bend, and you can hold it here, do little pulses with the leg. The more of that kind of exercise that you do, the more you'll build up the active flexibility. And when your active flexibility is a lot less than your passive flexibility, so if you grab a leg you could pull it all the way into your face, but when you try to lift the leg, it will only come to 90 degrees. That's when you have a real imbalance between the active and the passive. And building up the active flexibility will help to support the joint and create more accessible and useful flexibility for you. So I would say really be careful with the splits for a little while, because you might be re-injuring it and re-traumatizing the muscle. Do some hamstring strengthening and active flexibility. Be patient with it, give it a little bit of time, but that should help. Let's see. Kira, can you recommend any good references for books, websites, professional trainers if we want to learn more about stretching? Yes, I can. I don't have my library with me right now, so it would take me a little time to pull up a bibliography for you. But when I get home to LA, I can do that because I have my whole library there. The one person I can just recommend easily off the top of my head, who's been a great resource for me, is Kit Laughlin, K-I-T. His last name is L-A-U-G-H-L-I-N. Unfortunately, he's far away from me, all the way in Australia. I've never actually met him, but one of these days I'm going to get over there. And I love his videos on YouTube and Mayo and his books and DVDs. I think he's a really solid resource for learning about stretching. Let me see. Oh, yeah, I just can't remember a lot of the names of the books that I have off the top of my head. But if you email me, I promise, get back to you with a nice list. I apologize for not having that everything available right here. And second question, is there a particular massage technique that helps with flexibility? A friend recommended myofascial massage. Yes, I do recommend myofascial massage. I did the 10 series of Rolfing. If anyone's in LA and needs a great Rolfer, I love my Rolfer. And that really helped a lot. For those of you who are new to the idea of Rolfing, it is a lot like, it is related to myofascial massage. And what it does is it goes in and breaks up the tight parts that are glued together in your body, where even if the muscle is flexible, because the muscles are kind of clumped up and glued together, they're not sliding, they're not moving. So that can definitely help with some of those problem areas in your body where muscles or joints have gotten stuck and no longer have their full range of motion. So I would recommend that if you want to do massage for flexibility and you're feeling like that would be something to be helpful. That's kind of the only type of massage that I am interested in doing, I think, unless I just want to have someone massage because it feels good. But in terms of like actually helping with your flexibility, it's the myofascial release and the structural integration, the Rolfing, that's really helpful. Chelsea Lang from Instagram. Chelsea wants better knee extension and nicer point through ankle and foot, the leg lines. Has difficulty engaging the knees to keep the legs straight. So this is not an uncommon problem. She has a lovely picture of her splits, and you can see that the leg doesn't want to completely straighten. And yeah, this is something that does happen. Here are some things to think about. One of them is doing strengthening exercises without being in a stretched position. So I think that definitely strengthen your vastus medialis. I'm gonna tilt this down just a little bit so you can see me. So the vastus medialis is the muscle that attaches to the kneecap and goes up and attaches to the femur. And it's part of the muscle that you want to have engaged and strong to get that full extension of the leg. When that muscle is weak, and you can, let me clarify that you can have strong, the other muscles in the quadriceps can be strong, but if that muscle is weak, that's part of what makes the back of the knee really tight and makes it difficult to get the full extension in the leg. So you want to engage this muscle here, push the back of the knee down towards the floor. If the heel comes up, that's fine. And hold it there, squeeze, and relax. So what I'm doing is, you can see my hand is underneath my knee. I'm trying to squeeze that down into the floor. I'm trying to get that down. If the heels come up, that's great. If they don't come up yet, that's okay too. They may eventually. Keep that squeezed and relax. And see if you can do that without engaging all the rest of the
the rectus femoris and all these other muscles up in here. You want to try to isolate the muscle above the kneecap, and try to do like 50 of those a day. You want to do a whole bunch of them, because the more that you do it, the stronger this muscle gets, the more that you'll then be able to engage that muscle when your leg is lifted, when you're in that extension, that position where you really want the extension. So that's one thing to think about, is strengthening here. I know that you said you have the Bendy Body video, so it's got all those leg extension exercises. Don't think about how high the leg is for now. Just think about trying to get it completely and totally straight. So even if your leg is a little further away from your face, try to get it all the way straight. Because if your leg is coming in further, but you have to slightly micro bend the knee in order to get that to happen, then you're taking away the opportunity for your body to learn the position with the leg completely extended. In terms of the feet and stretching the point, let's scoot back a little bit. So when you're trying to get extension in your feet, I think that there's a lot of emphasis put on stretching the foot. So, you can do all these different stretches of lengthening through here, and those are all great. And you can find a lot of foot stretching exercises online. But what I'm going to show you is one of my my favorite exercises for building the strength that you need to actually hold your foot in that position. Because one of the things that happens a lot when you're trying to extend your leg and point your foot at the same time is that those muscles get cranky and they cramp up, and they start to fail. So even if you have the flexibility in your feet, you're not able to hold the position with the leg fully straight. And what you want to do is start to build up the muscles in the calf and the shin and the outside of the leg, because you want to prevent the sickling position of the feet, so you don't want the toes pointing in towards each other. So this is what I recommend. Sit with both legs straight out in front of you. If you're just starting out, you can relax the legs a little bit. If you're extended straight out in front of you, we're going to work on strengthening the outside here for the point. So you can feel that space underneath the back of the knees. If you're just starting out, you can allow that space to just be relaxed. But if you want to try to do this and make it more difficult, then you're going to try to keep this engagement in the knees like we were talking about earlier, so that you have that back of the knee pressed down into the floor. From here, you're going to take your finger and you're going to put it in between your ankle bones. Now, different people are made differently and have a different amount of space there. You might need 2 fingers. You might be able to easily squish 1 finger. But what you want to try to do is hold that finger with your ankle bones and maintain pressure on it. And point your feet. And without allowing this finger to become unsquished, try to bring your toes apart. And then back together. And apart. And back together. And apart. And back together. And what you're going to feel is the outside of the foot and all the way up the outside of the calf is going to start to burn. You're going to try and pull those toes as far apart as you can. Really try to make these muscles sing a happy song. Because what you want to do is be able to point your toes just using these muscles. So you're separating the toe point from the engagement up here. And the stronger those muscles get, the more you'll be able to actually move your foot into that position without sickling the foot and without bending the knee. So give that a shot and see if that helps. Hopefully that will be helpful in improving your lines. It's really done great things for my feet. All right, moving on. Sabine, hey Sabine. Position of the hips and the side tilt. Also talk about front tilt and standing split back leg. So we already covered standing split back leg, which is needle scale. And you were asking about the hip position of the hips. So in a side tilt, what you want to do, it's basically imagine that you're doing a middle split pressed up against a wall. So you don't want the hips to be twisted. You're stacking them. If these are the hip bones, you're taking your hip bones and putting one up on top of the other. Again, I'm going to try to challenge my technical abilities and attach a photo for you guys of this. And then you're externally rotating both the standing leg and the flying leg and trying to get them as far into a middle split position as possible. I have to admit, I'm not really sure what you mean by allowing the hips to twist in that position. Generally, you just want
you just taking that pelvic triangle, turning it directly sideways. So the standing leg, the foot should be at a 90-degree angle to where you're facing. Hopefully that helps. And if you're doing a needle scale, a back leg standing split, the hips should definitely be square. As soon as you start to let that back hip turn and open, everything's going to start to get wonky. So really work on keeping that square, just like you would in any split on the floor. Okay, and you have some questions about partner-supported stretches with your boyfriend. We'll save those for next week. I look forward to hearing them. I'm sure they're great. For Flora, you want to know when a common body has a comfortable without pain split. When you oversplit 3 to 4 blocks, you do a flat split whenever you want. Is that true? What's a common body? I don't know. I don't know what a common body is. We're all different. That's the problem. Some people can do flat splits whenever they want. Some people need to warm up. It really depends on what's going on with you and your body. What I would say is that the more that you focus, again, I have these little mantras, the more you focus on building your active flexibility, building your strength in the splits, the less you have to warm up. Because your body is able to support that range of motion comfortably. When you have to kind of push into the split and your muscles aren't supporting your body, that's going to make doing the split more painful, and it's going to make your warm-up process longer. But yeah, unfortunately, questions about like how long does the average person take to get a split kind of stuff, it's so different from person to person. There just isn't really a rule of thumb that I can go to for that. But focus on your active flexibility. Rather than thinking about how high your oversplit is, think about how technically correct your splits are, and try to feel the muscle engagement there, try to feel the support in the rest of the body, do some resistance in the splits so that your split is comfortable at whatever level you're at. And, you know, if you have to warm up a little bit to do a split, it's not the end of the world, is it? I know we all want to just be able to pop into everything immediately, like bionic humans. I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer for you. No. All right, we have 3 people with questions about the neck and back bends. It's pretty much all the same question, so I'm going to answer them all together. This is going out to Jonna Korb, Kate Kilway, and Zena Scott, who all approached me with the same question. So here it is. And this is a great question. It's about the position, like how do you approach dropping your head back and the neck when you're doing a back bend? And this is a real issue because a lot of us have cranky necks. Necks are one of those places that like to hold tension. And this is especially important if you're one of those people with lovely long swan necks. So if you have a long neck and you're starting to feel some instability in the neck and your back bend, this is extra important to pay attention to. So a couple things. One is that the shoulder position when you're dropping your head back is very important. We tend to want to protect the neck. So what we do when we protect the neck is we hunch up the shoulders. Now, if you can see from the side, when I hunch up my shoulders and then drop my head back, you can see I can't get a whole lot of extension because these big honking upper trapezius muscles right here are totally in my way. I can't get my head back very far. So even though we feel like we're protecting the neck, what we're doing is we're crunching it. You can see it's kind of crunched in there. I can actually feel a crunch in my neck. So the first thing that you want to do is do a couple shoulder rolls, relax the shoulders down the back, feel a little bit of engagement through your lats here, and really open up the chest. Now, this is lengthened out of the way, and I'm thinking about bringing the nape of my neck, the very base of my skull, right here up towards the ceiling. So I'm lengthening all the cervical vertebrae in my neck. I'm trying to get them really long. So that's the first step, is take all the crunch out of the neck. The next step is to feel that the head is being supported from the core of your body. So you want to start by engaging through your abdominal muscles and almost bring your body just a little bit forward by contracting the abs, then lift the chest by engaging through the upper back. So you can see
I'm engaging and lifting the chest. I'm holding onto my body from here. My shoulders are down. And then think about extending the chin up towards the ceiling. And what I want to have is a completely relaxed front of my neck and chest. Now, this can be challenging if you're one of those people, and there are a lot of you out there I know, who like to hold tension through the neck. So when you try to do that, your body might resist through the throat area. You might feel that the shoulders want to come up and in and to protect that area. So go nice and slow at first, but try to feel how, what I say is imagine that there is a winch in your lower abs. So a big giant spool of metal cable, and that cable is running up the front of your body and attaching to your head. So that as the head drops back, the support and energy for that is coming from here. Then when you bring the head back up, this spool is pulling you up. So I'm contracting from the lower abs to bring the head up. So these muscles stay relaxed as much as possible the entire time. The shoulders stay down, the chest is lifted and open. Think about opening all of this. So when the head is dropped back, it should feel very relaxed and open. Think of yourself as a Pez dispenser. You want to open all of this up and just shoot candy out of your throat. You should be able to shake your head to the ceiling and up. There goes the cough. I don't like talking with your head dropped back. A little cold this week. So try those things. So shoulders dropped down and back, feeling the lower abs engaged, lifting the chest, lengthening the neck to the ceiling, dropping the head back. Maybe I can figure out how to edit that part out of the YouTube video. Anyway, we're done for today. I'm gonna go have a drink of tea, and I look forward to a whole slew of new questions for next week. If anything in there wasn't clear, or if you need more follow-up, feel free to contact me. You can ask your own questions either on Instagram, #AskFitAndBendy, and I will find you. Or on the Facebook page, Fit and Bendy Contortion Training, or through the post on the Worldwide Splitters Challenge, which is already more than halfway through. You guys are doing so well. So have a great weekend, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.